trying to figure out which smartwatch or wearable to get can be a tough decision to make. Should you get the new Apple Watch, or maybe the Whoop Band, or the Oura Ring, or maybe you'd be better off with a Fitbit or a Garmin, or any of the other over 100 smart wearables released just this year alone. So much choice can lead to being overwhelmed and ultimately just choosing a smartwatch based on the latest commercial rather than being able to figure out the one that would make you happiest. But don't worry, in this video, I'm going to break down and help categorize all of the available options for you. So instead of trying to make the impossible choice between hundreds, you can make a much more informed choice between just a few. Now, if you're new to the channel, this is Colin with Connect the Watts. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe for the latest in connected fitness. And as we start this video, let me know in comments what your favorite smartwatch or wearable is. Okay, so when we look at the hundreds of smartwatches and wearables available, if we dig into sort of their primary functionality as well as what features they are strongest in and where they are weakest at, we can really begin to break them up into 5 distinct categories. And those 5 categories are utility, outdoor sports, fitness trackers, recovery, and specialized. We're going to take a look at each of these categories and talk a little bit more about where they excel, where they fall behind, and what sort of person they are most ideal for. So starting with utility, these smartwatches have a goal to provide the most and broadest amount of features possible, from making calls to texting to checking your email, workout tracking, schedule reminders, and really unlimited third-party options, as they should have a dedicated app store. So obviously the Apple Watch is the most popular and leading smartwatch in this category. But for those who prefer Android, there's the Galaxy Watch as well as the upcoming Pixel Watch. And while these smartwatches tend to excel in their utility and breadth of options, they tend to have much smaller battery lives. They also tend to be a bit more complex than, for example, a more simple fitness tracker. And while they have the biggest range of features, they don't always have the most in-depth features in particular areas, especially when compared to the more outdoor sports specific watches. So these utility watches are best for somebody who wants to be a generalist, somebody who likes being able to have the broadest functionality on their watch and don't need anything super specific in terms of tracking their fitness or recovery. Most people tend to fall in this category, which is why watches like the Apple Watch are by far the most popular. Okay, so outdoor sport watches have a primary goal of providing the most accurate, most useful, in-depth tracking and features for outdoor sports performance. They tend to have more accurate GPS and heart rate tracking during workouts and can analyze performance extremely well. They tend to also have some of the longest battery lives of any smartwatch category, and also tend to be a bit more resistant and less likely to break or scratch. Where they fall behind tends to be with third-party support and having a much more narrow breadth of features. And while some do support functionality like playing music and getting call and text notifications, they are much more limited than utility watches. Their displays also tend to be a bit more dim when not in use, as it helps extend their battery life. The most popular watches in this category come from companies like Garmin, COROS, and Polar, with a lot of options within them to help target certain price ranges anywhere from $150 to over $1,000. Now, outdoor sport focused watches are obviously designed for somebody who takes part in outdoor sports like running, walking, hiking, biking, surfing, and so on. So fitness trackers are sort of a unique category, and what sets them apart from others is that they are a bit more simplistic, often just tracking a handful of health and fitness metrics like steps, sleep, heart rate, and having some basic workout features. And where they really excel is they tend to have a lower cost compared to other options. They tend to be much easier to learn and use. And while they don't usually have as good of a battery as some watches in the outdoor sports category, they do tend to have a much better battery in general than utility watches. Where they fall behind is because of the focus on simplicity, they don't provide as many in-depth features as, say, a sports watch, or as big a breadth of features as a utility watch. Fitbit is one of the more popular brands that focuses on this category, with several different options to choose from. So these are the best for somebody who wants to track their fitness and health, but don't really need or want anything super in depth and would prefer simplicity and ease of use over anything else. Next, we have recovery or health focused wearables, and 2 of the most popular being the band from Whoop and the Oura Ring. These are designed solely to provide the best and most accurate analysis of your health and recovery, and they excel at this by by typically providing the most consistent, most accurate HRV or heart rate variability data. Where they fall behind because they devote all of their energy into this analysis, like for example, when you're sleeping, Whoop tracks your heart rate at more than 100 times per second or something crazy like that, is that they don't really have the capacity to provide much additional functionality, which is part of the reason they also don't have external displays. These were originally developed for athletes, but have since become adopted by lots of non-athletes as well because of how well they track and give insights into your health and recovery. Personally, I think they are a great choice, especially as a second wearable next to a utility watch, which tend to be the weakest at this. And it doesn't look too bad since Whoop and Aura don't really look as much like tech devices. The final category is the specialized category, and these could be for a variety of watches. For example, some that can take your blood pressure, or others designed to track your stress, and various other types of wearables that focus on one particular function. And they tend to be the weakest in all other areas because of it. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about a watch like the Apple Watch Ultra, which could be considered a utility watch and an outdoor sports watch? Or what about Fitbit? Those trackers now have advanced metrics like HRV and GPS tracking and so on. And yes, the lines do get really blurry when you start to look at each of these devices, as they are all sort of evolving to provide a lot of the same things, but they still excel in certain areas and fall behind in others. Take the Apple Watch Ultra, for example. Yes, it's much more like an outdoor sports watch with more advanced GPS and other fitness-focused features. But compared to other watches in that outdoor sports category, it is still pretty far behind in terms of its battery life and its sports analysis. Or the other example with the Fitbit, which can now monitor more advanced features as well, but it still excels at being really simple to use and low cost, and so these more advanced features tend to be a bit more hidden and also a bit less accurate than some of the watches in the other categories. So my biggest suggestion is to choose which main category sounds like what you need the most, and then within that category you can then pick and choose a wearable that has the features and the price that works best for you. And I've put links to some of my favorite smartwatches and wearables for each category in the description below. Again, this is Colin with Connect the Watts. Thanks for watching, appreciate it as always, and I'll see you next time.